Hi, I'm Steve Miller with the Greater Akron Chamber, and I'm here today with John Park, Westfield Bank's chairman and CEO, also with Chris Van Osdale, and she is marketing leader at Westfield. We're here today to talk about the Payment Protection Program loans and how they can help your small business. These guys have deep experience, born through fire, if you will, over the last, I guess, year or so dealing with this program. But John, tell us a little about Westfield. And how PPP has been going for you guys, and then we'll get into some details of the program.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. The payroll protection program has been a lifesaver for many businesses. Westfield has 4,200 business customers throughout Northeast Ohio, and we actively were engaged providing these loans. In the first round, we provided 1,250 of the payroll protection loans in the first round, and we're logistically ready and have staff available to help people do it again this time.
My sense of what I've heard right now is that it hasn't been as much of a frenzy this time as it was the first time PPP. I'd like to think that that's because the banks are a little bit more prepared for it, but also there's a lot more money available this time as well. Is that right?
I believe there's a little bit less money available, but a couple things are different. A year ago, when the pandemic hit, nobody knew what the impact would be to their businesses, and many people were concerned about cash flow and making payroll for employees, which fortunately for most businesses turned out to be okay. This time around, because of the lack of that sense of urgency, well, I would say very few are concerned about covering payroll, so it's a little bit different this time. Also, they set more specific parameters around the 25% decrease in revenue. So some of the businesses don't qualify, and they also have set the cap. They've lowered the cap. In the first round, larger businesses could get loans up to 10 million. The cap has since been lowered to 2 million. So we've seen a couple things. There's fewer companies that qualify, and the average loan size is smaller.
Clarify that though, Chris, because as we talk about less companies that qualify, I know the application of the 25% revenue reduction is for second round loans. If this is your first time getting the PPP and you got shut off last time, you can still get access to one of these loans for your business?
That is correct. Yes, Steve.
As we think about the small businesses, some of which have told me, why should I bother this time? Because last time I had difficulty getting access. I couldn't get through to somebody. They didn't want to work with me because I wasn't a current customer. Address how that is working now for companies who are interested in PPP loans.
This time around, a couple of things are different. Banks like ourselves have built automated platforms, so the experience going through it is much more streamlined. Be a little bit like, say, doing TurboTax, if you're doing your tax return. We've also reallocated more employees to this effort. So compared to a year ago, we've realized that lots of small businesses need help and have questions, and we have assigned staff specifically to help on those sorts of things. So those are a couple things that are different. We also, I'd say a year ago, there was concern about how sincere was the government in honoring the forgiveness process. We are now well into the processing of forgiveness on the round one loans. And I would say it's not all done, but I believe, Chris, you might know the number, but I think we're 99% of our loans that we have processed asking for forgiveness have been approved.
They are definitely getting approved for forgiveness, and it's, the process is easier. We have actually paused the forgiveness process right now because the SBA is going through a process to make the forgiveness process even smoother. So we anticipate that when they open up again to receive forgiveness applications, it's going to even be smoother, especially for that group that's getting a PPP loan that's less than 150,000. So that's really great news.
My understanding is that forgiveness is down to kind of a very easy form for under $150,000. And I think I just want to come back and point out that if you're a very small business, let's say you're just an owner. Can you get PPP? Is it available to you? A lot of folks have told me, I want a grant. I don't want a loan because I'm worried about this forgiveness process.
So if you're a sole proprietor, one person, let's suppose you're a painter, can you qualify for the payroll protection program? And the answer is yes. Lots of times, if you're a sole proprietor, your record keeping is a lot less sophisticated. You may be using QuickBooks, you may be just using a bank account and depositing checks into your account that's your own wages, let's say. In those cases, we've been advising people to take copies of their bank statements from a year ago. I won't go into tons of the detail, but just compare year over year to show that you've had your revenue decline. So we have our team kind of prepared and ready to help walk people through those things this time.
Because we've heard from a lot of folks last time, they couldn't find anybody to talk to, right? If they weren't a client with a bank, it was really hard to get somebody on the phone and the bankers were going nuts. But as you think about this, I think you've dedicated some resources to help walk people through the process. Is that right?
We have dedicated a couple of our bankers to this process. So if there is a new customer coming into the bank that was looking for help and had questions about how to process a PPP loan, our team is dedicated to doing that, and that information is available.
Lots of times small business folks get frustrated because in my example, if you're a painter, you're working during the day, so you don't really have time to go hang out at a branch and wait for somebody to help you. So we're offering the ability to get appointments. We've set up a dedicated email address, and it is PPP applications at westfield-bank.com. If you email us, our team will set up a specific time slot. So they'll carve out an hour that works for the business owner's schedule. And then that way, whether it's next week or in 3 weeks, you're assured that you'll have your time slot and you can get the attention and somebody to help walk you through the process.
So tell me a little bit more. If I was a business and I applied in that first round and I got rejected, should I try again or am I going to just get rejected again?
And I imagine that's very frustrating. If you were denied in the first round, it would cause you to not want to reapply in the second round. We would encourage you to go ahead and reapply for the second round and see if we can help you. We do have a team of dedicated bankers that are available to help you through the process and answer any questions. We have a checklist to help you prepare all of the paperwork and documentation that is needed. And we can definitely resubmit that, or not resubmit, but submit an application for you on your behalf to the Small Business Administration.
So it doesn't sound like I'm banned from sort of reapplying again. And John, as you think about how you guys are getting to what I would call typically underserved businesses, minority-owned businesses, businesses in the low, moderate income areas, what are you guys doing to drive that outreach?
Great question, Steve. So for Black-owned businesses and minority business owners, study after study show that there's a great need and that market is underserved. So as part of the Chamber's strategic plan and part of Westfield Bank's strategic plan, we're trying to focus on the market, network within the market, dedicate resources, and do all that we can to make sure that folks in these communities are getting access to the financial resources they need.
As we think about a PPP loan, is there any business that a PPP loan is not right for? I mean, is there somebody who should say, well, that's just not the thing for me. I'm just stuck.
I guess if you're unable to substantiate that you had a decrease in revenue, and some businesses are, and if you have not been impacted and your revenues have been fine, of course, that wouldn't fit. But our advice has been for most businesses, if you do meet the criteria, we encourage you to apply and seek the assistance.
You know, one of the things you mentioned in this discussion earlier, John, is that they have to show a reduction in revenue. And I know that's true for second draw loans. But for your first draw loan, I think a lot of companies, they have to show some impact from COVID, right? Whether it's revenue or additional expenses or some uncertainty. Is that the guidelines they should be following?
So on first draw loans, it related to maintaining employment and getting us assistance to cover things like rent payment, insurance payments, and those sorts of things. So the criteria is a little bit different for the two loans. Another thing that is different is in the first round, there was not a lot of incentive on the smaller size loans, so they took time to do. And in the second round, I would say the government has changed the program to provide more compensation, I guess is the word, to the bank to help on the smaller loans. They set the minimum different.
So, John, in the first round, bankers were going crazy, right? They're all over the place trying to get this work done for companies, and all the rules were changing, et cetera. And so, for very small companies, especially those without a deep bank relationship, it was hard to get some attention. What's changed this time? How ready are you to work with smaller companies to help them with their loans?
Our bank has always had a focus on trying to assist the small businesses. What's different this time is we've assigned more people specifically to focus on the smaller businesses, regardless of size. So if you're a sole proprietor, that's fine. And with the automation that we have in place and some of the process and understanding the government's rules, we're able to do these things quite a bit quicker and in more scale than we were the first time around.
I've heard that there's going to be some changes over the next couple of weeks where the focus is going to be entirely on small business of under 20 employees for the program. Is that right? Can you tell us a little more about that?
The Biden administration just announced some rule changes to the payroll protection program this morning. And the largest one is that starting this Wednesday, they're going to limit the second round applications to only businesses with fewer than 20 employees. And that's going to last for a 2-week period of time. The intent of that is to make sure that the resources, such as Westfield Bank's resources and other banks, are dedicated solely to the small business community for this 2-week period of time. So I'd encourage all those folks, this great window of opportunity to get a banker to help you out.
And I understand there's some other tweaks that have been made in terms of how you can use money for the PPP program, and maybe even the amount of money you can get if you're in certain segments of the business community. Chris, can you talk about that for a sec?
There are different ways that the monies for the second draw can be used. So if you are a recipient of the funds from the PPP loans, you can use them for payroll costs, mortgage, rent, utilities, things like that. But they also have a provision in there for using money if you were a victim of vandalism resulting from the riots last year in 2020. And then if you are in certain industries, you are eligible for a little bit more. So if you're in certain industries such as food service, you can get up to 3.5 times your average monthly 2019 or 2020 payroll costs, up to $2 million.
So as we sort of close up here, I guess some final thoughts on the program and for our businesses who are thinking about it. Doesn't feel like there's a reason a business shouldn't try to get some help to take a look at a PPP loan. Any advice you have in terms of how quickly they need to move, or even what the expectations are once they reach out and fill their application out? How long before they actually have money in hand to support their business?
The Payroll Protection 2 program will remain open through March 31st unless they extend it, but currently it's going through March 31st. We're finding lots of times the applicant, the business, can process their information and submit it in a day. And we're seeing really quick turnaround from the SBA on these. So typically they're being approved from the same day up till, say, 5 business days. So the money is clearing through the system relatively quickly. So I would say from an expectation standpoint, if your approval is in a same day to 5 day, we typically are seeing funding within 3 days after that. So businesses can get money relatively quickly from this program.
So it sounds like the process is easier than it was. The bankers are more available and willing to help out. The loans are moving faster into people's hands, and even more dollars are available to certain kinds of businesses and to cover even more things. So a lot of positives here for the payment protection program for small businesses. I'd encourage you to get in touch with John, Chris, their teams at Westfield. There are links available here for you to sort of go over to see the specific information they've got on their site. And we really appreciate, John, Chris, all the work that you guys are doing for our small businesses. They need the help, and they appreciate the local touch of Westfield.
Thanks, Steve.
We look forward to working with everybody.